Full disclosure, my dad asked for this episode, and since my dad could beat up your dad, just kidding, my dad's not running around beating people up, but he's really cool and he never asked me for anything, so here you go, Dad, this one's for you. Now let me be really clear, this is not a debunking episode. This is not an endorsement, it's an exploration. Because before you can critique an idea, you have to understand it. And the Tartaria theory is not a meme. It's not just a comment section spiral. It's a full narrative. It has maps and architecture, buried cities and orphan trains, great fires, Tesla, energy. It's cohesive. And if it's true, it would rewrite modern history. So today we're going to do something simple. We're going to lay it out clearly, fairly, without strawmen, and then we're going to ask one question. What do we actually know? And here at the observation deck, we question everything. The theory begins with maps. 16th and 17th century European maps labeled a massive region as Tartaria or Great Tartary. Not a village, not a tribe, not a vague mountain range. An enormous landmass stretching across Siberia, Central Asia, sometimes even brushing into North America depending on the cartographer. That's not small, that's not incidental, that's half a continent. To proponents, this isn't a labeling convenience, it's evidence. Because you don't casually name half the known world unless something substantial exists there. Empires get names, civilizations get names, and Tartary appears again and again. Different map makers, different decades, same label. And then over time it disappears. It's replaced by Russia and by China, by smaller political boundaries. And that's where the suspicion enters. Did Tartaria fade or was it absorbed? Was it defeated or was it erased? And if it was erased, who erased it? Because if this was simply cartographic laziness, why does it look so deliberate? The theory shifts from parchment to stone, because maps are abstract, buildings are physical, and they're breathtaking. There's massive cathedrals, capitol buildings, train stations, opera houses and courthouses, World Fair expositions, perfect symmetry, ornate detailing, domes, spires, columns, arches, carvings so precise they look machine cut. Stonework was so intricate it feels beyond its era. And here's the central question. Were societies using horse-drawn transport and basic metallurgy really capable of producing at this scale? Or did they inherit something older? Something grander? The theory suggests that many 1800s buildings weren't built. They were found, repurposed and rebranded, given new plaques, new dates, new origin stories. Because if a civilization collapses, the victors write history. And if you inherit a city, why not claim you built it? It's dramatic, it's cinematic, and visually it's hard to dismiss. And then comes the visual anomaly, windows below street level, doorways that descend into what look like buried floors. Entire building facades partially submerged in earth. Walk through almost any old downtown and you'll see it. Stone arches below the sidewalk. Bricked-in windows beneath pavement. Stairs leading downward into what appears to be a former ground floor. The theory's explanation is a global mud flood. This is not the end of the Younger Dryas. This is much later. Sometime between the 1600s and 1800s, a catastrophic event buried cities in sediment. The upper floors became the new ground level. Survivors built upward. History resets. And what remains beneath us is Tartaria. And here's the thing. That idea is powerful because you can see it. You don't need abstract charts. You don't need physics equations. You can walk downtown and point. That was buried. It feels real. And anything that feels real has power. And now the theory escalates. What if those domes and spires weren't decorative? What if they were functional? What if cathedrals weren't just houses of worship, but energy collectors? Supporters connect this idea to Nikola Tesla, atmospheric energy, resonance physics, copper spires, metal finials and bell towers. The suggestion is not that electricity didn't exist, but that we lost a more elegant version of it. A wireless, abundant, atmospheric system, and that when Tartaria fell, that knowledge went with it. Plato told us that Atlantis was advanced, with advanced technology. So it's not out of the stretch of the imagination to think Tartaria was also more advanced. Now, this is where the theory moves from historical suspicion into technological mythology, but it borrows real science, which makes it feel grounded, and that's important. Because believable stories rarely begin with fantasy, they begin with something true. Now step back. Maps and architecture, mud flood, energy, orphan trains, fires, the pieces connect, and the theory reaches its inevitable climax. There was a reset. A civilization spanning continents existed. A catastrophe, natural or engineered, buried parts of it. Survivors were absorbed, relocated, or erased. Major fires removed evidence. Modern civilization rose from the remnants without acknowledging what came before. It's cohesive, it's elegant. It explains anomalies with a single sweeping narrative. And humans love a single sweeping narrative. This is part of the story with an emotional anchor, the orphan trains. From 1854 to 1929, thousands of children were transported from eastern cities. They went to families in the Midwest. Officially, this was a social reform effort, relocating impoverished children into more rural homes. But inside the Tartaria framework, it becomes something else. Why were there so many children without parents? Was it simply disease, poverty, industrial hardship? Or were they displaced remnants of a collapsed civilization? If a reset occurred, children would survive. Adults would perish. Memory would fragment, and a generation raised without roots would never question the absence of its past. That's powerful storytelling. It's also heartbreaking, and that's why it resonates. Then the great fires come. Chicago burned, San Francisco, Seattle, entire cities burned. Photographs show collapsed brick, twisted metal, ruins. The theory asks, how does brick melt? Was it ordinary fire or something more intense? Energy weapons? Unknown technology? Or deliberate erasure? And here's where the emotional gravity deepens. Because cities did burn. Neighborhoods did vanish. Records were destroyed. Destruction happened. Then debate becomes, what did it mean? Now pause. If Tartaria was real, if a civilization spanning continents existed in the 1600s or 1700s, this wouldn't be a fringe mystery. This would be the largest historical cover-up in modern human history. So what would we expect? Would we expect rulers? Named emperors? Administrative structures? Tax systems? Trade agreements? Coinage? Diplomatic correspondence? Multiple independent references from neighboring empires? We would expect enemies to document it. We would expect allies to document it. Because by this period, printing presses existed. International diplomacy existed. Bureaucracy existed. Paperwork existed. And paperwork leaves fingerprints. So where are those fingerprints? Why is there no documented evidence besides old maps? Now let's revisit these pieces calmly. The term Tartary was widely used by European cartographers as a broad geographic label for lands inhabited by Turkic and Mongol peoples. As exploration expanded and borders sharpened, the label was replaced by more specific regional names. That's cartographic refinement, not necessarily erasure. And the architectural boom of the 1800s is heavily documented all across the planet. There's funding records and architectural plans. There's construction photographs, newspaper articles. There's cornerstone ceremonies. If we inherited those buildings, we would expect silence, not tons of documents and photographs. Instead, we find receipts. Urban regrading projects like in Chicago, regrading in Seattle, that explains the buried floors. And the orphan trains relocated approximately 75,000 children. But that was over 75 years, not within a few. This was handled publicly and it's well documented. And there's no documented centralized Tartarian government structure from that time frame. Now here's the important part. Tartaria is compelling because it connects anomalies into one elegant explanation. Humans are pattern-seeking machines. We seek fragments. We want cohesion. And when institutional trust declines, alternative narratives feel empowering. The story gives agency. It gives depth. It suggests that history is bigger than what we were told. That's exciting, but excitement isn't evidence. And skepticism must apply evenly. If we question official narratives, we must also question alternative ones. That's intellectual consistency. There are many mysteries in history that deserve wonder. Ancient engineering still surprises us. The pyramids still invite debate. But Tartaria sits during the age of printing presses, of industrial bureaucracy, and of census records. If it were real, it would have left fingerprints. And fingerprints are stubborn things. And here at the observation deck, we question everything, even stories we want to be true. Hey, I'm Kim. Thanks for watching. And if you're stuck with me this long, I would like to ask you to do something for me. If you would please consider liking and subscribing. It really does help the channel, and it tells the algorithm that storytelling like this still matter. Until next time.